I'll discuss what happened from beginning to end. All right, and this is just my side of the story. Yesterday, or I think the day before yesterday, perhaps. Um, Aristotle accused me of being a wolf and being a snake, saying that I was deconverting baby Christians to atheism. Right? He accused me of that, and he personally insulted me and attacked me when we were having a debate. Like, he personally attacked my family while we were having a debate. I was rude to him when we were debating. And then after that happened, I left the server and then he blocked me on this account. So I went on my alt account and then I apologized to him. I sent him a 2-paragraph sincere apology
Uh-huh.
for me being rude, right? And mind you, I never
Uh,
personally insulted. I never insulted his wife, anything like that. I was just rude. I was like, fuck you, whatever. So that's why I apologized to him for my actions. And then, he started saying, he didn't ever apologize, by the way, for insulting my family, but that's all right. But basically, he didn't apologize. And then after I apologized, he said, "You're a wolf, you're a snake trying to deconvert baby Christians. I don't want you to talk to these people." Right? And I said, "Listen, man,
what were you
talk."
saying to these people? Like, were you bringing down their momentum? Like, what are you saying? I mean, I
Okay.
know when you
I'll,
go
I'll
hardcore on those easy ones, like,
right.
yeah.
I'll tell
So
you what
tell
I
me.
heard from King Enzo himself, and Hypatia, Trez, and near and far, I think, can attest to what Enzo was saying, right? Because King Enzo specifically referred to one occurrence, but I want to just let me finish the whole things with the DMs, and then I'll tell you about that. Is that fine? Because
Go
it's
ahead,
very
yeah.
short. It's very short. Okay, so he accused me of that, and he said, "Don't go around Lawrence. Don't go around, Myron, etc." And I said, "Listen, man, you can't tell me who I can't go around and who I can, right? But if you do not want me to speak about theology to these people, I will not." I said that explicitly. I said, "If you do not want me to speak around theology to these people, then I believe we have a compromise here because I will not do so for your sake." That's what I said. I agreed upon his terms that he was demanding. Now, I'm not just going to isolate myself from these people. Aristotle was getting them to
Uh-huh.
purposely ignore me and like isolating from me. And whenever I would try to reconcile with him, he would leave and run the VC. So that's what happened, right? And then after that, he blocked me on that account. After this happened, I was pretty pissed. So not only did I wake up the next day and saw that I was demodded, wondering why I was demodded. I wondered, was it the Jules situation? Was it this situation? It was probably this situation. And then all the speculations and rumors started, meaning that people started saying shit in the Protestant chat. Because, I'm very
Mhm.
well known amongst the server. People know who I am. They know of me. So if I'm demodded, they're going to ask questions. And honestly, it was made a public dispute when I was demodded, and nobody gave any reason. So I told them. I told them what happened and why I was likely demodded. And then they were like, "That's really fucked up." All right. They were like, "That's really messed up. You shouldn't have been demodded for that."
Uh-huh.
Etc. And then you shouldn't have been banned from that either. So Aristotle and King Enzo were in the Orthodox voice chat, right? And I said, "I'm going to go join the Orthodox voice chat. Probably shouldn't follow me." They all follow me anyways.
Mhm.
Trez followed me, Near and Fire followed me, and a few others did as well, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I said, "Do you want to talk about how you got me banned? And do you want to reconcile with what happened?" And Aristotle was like, "You're doing the same thing that, no, he actually left. No, sorry, that's later. He first left. So he ran whenever I tried to talk to him about it. And then the only person I could possibly speak to is King Enzo. So now let me get on to what I was, the main point that Enzo was saying and then my response. So Enzo, he was like, well, when he called you a wolf and a snake, what he really meant was that your theology can be harsh to teach people. And whenever you're teaching this harsh theology, it could lead to people deconverting. My first response that I gave was, listen, even, let's say hypothetically, even if this were to actually happen, and this, I was putting seeds of doubt in people, that's not a reason to demod me, blacklist me, and then tell people to ignore me for being like a wolf and a snake. There is zero reason for you to do that. Aristotle could have pulled me aside, said, listen, you should speak with tact on X, Y, and Z, and you should, refrain from this kind of language, because although the theology that you're saying is true, it may not be the best way to word it for new people. You got to sugarcoat it, right? If he would have told me that, pulled me aside, I would have had no issue. You can check the DMs with me and him. I told him I had no issue with doing so. But no, he decided to still ban me, block me, and then tell other people in the Orthodox circles to ignore me, isolate from me, whatever. That's just a little bit too far. It's a little bit unhinged, in my opinion. So that's what happened there. And then Enzo mentioned, one of your, it happened on the doctrine of original sin and where infants go after they die. And I said, yeah, infants go to limbo, right? According to the confession of the Orthodox faith, as well as the confession of Dositheus, right? The Council of Jerusalem in 1672 states that if you are not, and Christ himself states, if you're not born of water and of the Spirit, then you cannot enter the kingdom of heaven, right? Mm-hmm. So no, the infants do not enter the kingdom of heaven, unfortunately, but they're not suffering in hellfire, and they're not it's kind of like a state of blessedness and peace, like a flower outside the kingdom, whatever. And it's kind of like limbo, kind of like the Roman Catholic doctrine of limbo, which we taught there, right? And I guess in one of my debates, I said, yeah, the infants do go to hell. I guess that's what put seeds of doubt in him, because I never further explained what I meant by that and clarified, right? All I meant was that they're separated from God. They don't go to the kingdom. And it's possible that after the resurrection, they do go to the kingdom. But anyways, that specific teaching was what he had an issue with. And that, I think, that's what he told me, that the reason why. That's what Enzo told me, because I wasn't able to even speak to Aristotle. That's what Enzo told me, his reasoning why. So, I mainly had two responses to that. The first response was, what I just told you, which is that he shouldn't have made it a public dispute by banning me. He should have come to me first and reconciled. I agreed to reconcile, yet he still insulted me and then blocked me and then did all the nonsense. Did all that fuck shit. Right. The second response that I would probably give to that is what Near and Far was saying, which is, listen, even if he was a little bit harsh in his words, right, he is teaching true theology. He's quoting church fathers. So if you think what the church fathers say are harsh, then because the Catechism of St. Peter Mogila is not just for catechumens, it's also for inquirers, and it's a response to Protestants and Catholics. That's what the purpose of that writing is for. And St. Peter Mogila says explicitly that infants, if they do not have original sin remitted through baptism, are going to be consigned to damnation, right? So, is now St. Peter Mogila leading people to have seeds of doubt? Is he now, are the church fathers as a whole a wolf and a snake for deconverting baby Christians? And I'm not arguing against sugarcoating it for people. I know that. But even then, the church fathers spoke very harshly. Some people don't like the truth. Some people, the truth is hard, right? When Christ was debating with the Pharisees, I think he was saying some pretty outrageous stuff by their standard. You know what I mean? He himself claimed to be God. That was outrageous for the Pharisaic Jews during that time, right? That's why they crucified him.
Mhm.
So, was Jesus sowing seeds of doubt in people by telling them true theology? I don't think so. But, that was my two objections to what he was saying. And even then, I told Aristotle I'm completely fine with not talking about theology to those people, and he still treated me like shit anyways. After that, I think Near and Far got all the information, and then Trez got all the information. I think you spoke with Near and Far. I don't know what on or how much about it, but he can attest to a lot of what happened. After that, Aristotle joined the VC and said, he's trying to leak my DMs. He's doing the same thing that, he did to Giab, his ex-friend, and then he muted and then banned me. That whole thing is because Enzo asked me to stream the DMs. I asked him, he said, I don't believe if you said that you wouldn't teach theology around us, that Aristotle would do that. And I was like, do you want to see the DMs? And he was like,
also, okay, so just to the way that he was asking if babies go to hell. So that the Eastern Orthodox Church, no, Eastern Orthodox Church does not believe unbaptized baby go to hell, because if you read the Saint Gregory of Nicaea, you see that infants who die are received into God's love because they have committed no personal sin, because they do not inherit the guilt from original sin, but they inherit the consequences, which are death, from it. So your answer was completely wrong regarding that matter.
That's a heresy.
Babies do not.
That's Pelagianism. That's a heresy.
That's
the
not
council.
But Saint Greg.
Is Saint Gregory of Nyssa above the rudder? Is Saint Gregory of Nyssa above canon law?
Okay,
No.
what about Metropolitan Callistus Ware? Where he said the Orthodox Church does not believe
he taught ecumenism. He taught that the filioque wasn't that much of a dispute. Listen, I have Saint Gregory the Theologian, Saint Augustine. I have Saint Peter Mogila, the Confession of the Orthodox Faith, which was universally ratified by all four patriarchs. I'm sorry, but Metropolitan Callistus Ware's writings wasn't written by all four patriarchs, right? So how about we actually go to our councils and our synods and what they say? Because I think now it's going to turn into a debate over theology.
No, not even gonna be a debate. Just give me more proof. I have so much proof. We can go over the nature. We can go over the nature of sin and guilt in Orthodoxy. We can go. God's mercy is not limited by sacraments. The Church has never dogmatized the damnation of infants.
Yes, it has.
We can go the liturgical practices and pastoral theology. We have so much, literally, the Church has never dogmatized, because we do not follow the Western tradition in the Middle Ages, the idea of limbo. We never dogmatized any specific teachings about. Where? Show me.
Saint Gregory the Theologian dogmatizes it, but he talks about it explicitly. He says, here, let's go to the decrees of the Council of 1672 and see what they say. Right.
The Council of what?
The Council of 1672, also known as the Confession of Disitheus, and what it says about holy baptism. And
1962, you said?
Yes, let's go to Decree 16. Okay. Can you read this out to me, if you don't mind?
Hold on a second.
This is Decree 16, and then I can send you the source right here. You can go and read it.
Which is it? Are you talking about Vatican II in 1962?
No, I'm talking about the Orthodox Council of 1672, called the Confession of Disitheus.
Oh, 16, not 1962.
Yeah, can you...
1692, yes. You said, right?
1672. 72. So, can you read this Decree 16?
Are you talking about the Synod of Jerusalem in 1672, right?
Yes, as well as the Synod of Jassy and the Synod of Kiev. And by the way, this confession was received by all four patriarchs. It's considered a universal confession. a universal council, like dogmatic.
Under Patriarch Dositheos, right?
Yes, Patriarch Dositheus. Okay, so
Okay.
here I'm gonna give you the layback on this, right?
Hold on. Let me read it. I need to read it.
I think it says it on the website that I sent you. If you go to the website, it does say what the council was about and why it was held.
Of 1672, the council rejected the Western concept of inherited guilt and
Does not.
affirmed the Orthodox teaching of ancestral sins, that humans inherit corruption and death, not the guilt of Adam's sins. It
Doesn't
did
say
not
that
declare
anywhere.
the unbaptized. It did not declare the unbaptized infants are condemned.
It never says
Instead,
that.
upholding the Orthodox view.
Can you read?
No, well,
It never
yeah,
says that. You're blatantly lying. You're blatantly lying, dude.
no, no,
Read.
I'm not.
Stop.
I'm
Can you
not
read?
lying.
Yes,
It
you
did
are.
not. It did not. No, it was never dogmatized. It was never
The webs.
dogmatized.
Wow, you're lying in front of us, dude. Come on. Don't you lie. Can you read Decree 16 and tell me what that says? Can you read it out loud? Okay, I'll read it for you. I can read it for you. We believe
I'm driving, dude.
I'll read it.
I'm driving, dude. Hold on, give me a second.
Okay,
I
so
need
you're
to
not
look
even
over.
reading anything. If you're driving, then you're not reading. So
I
you
was
just
reading.
lied.
I was reading. Show me the source. Did you send me the source?
Yes, I sent you the source. You just lied in the middle of the debate because
Okay.
you were reading from nothing. Okay,
So,
dude.
no, no. I'm reading the original, sources that I have.
I will read this. It says, "We believe holy baptism, which was instituted by the Lord and is conferred in the name of the Holy Trinity, to be of the highest necessity. For without it, none is able to be saved. As the Lord says, whoever is not born of water and of the Spirit shall in no way enter the kingdom of heaven. And therefore, baptism is necessary even for infants, since they are also subject to original sin, and without baptism are not able to obtain its remission. Which the
Okay,
Lord
but first
showed
of
when
all,
he said, not some of only, but simply and absolutely, whoever is not born again, which is the same as saying all that come after the coming of Christ the Savior would enter into the kingdom of heaven
but
must be
you know that,
regenerated." No,
but
stop, 1 second. "And since infants are men, and as such need salvation, needing salvation, they also need baptism. And those that are not regenerated, since they have not received the remission of hereditary sin, are of necessity subject to eternal punishment, and consequently cannot, without baptism, be saved, so that even infants should, of necessity, be baptized. Moreover, infants are saved, as said in Matthew 19:12, but he that is not baptized is not saved, and consequently, even infants must of necessity be baptized. The Confession de Sithius says that infants will go to hell if they are not baptized. It says it
okay,
explicitly. It's
oh,
dogmatic.
okay.
You're just not right on this, dude. Here's the
I'm not right, even though they're
here's
in
a
front of me.
dogmatic confession of the faith that you can read explicitly, whether all men are liable for the sin of Adam. He says, as all
So these
mankind during
church
the state of
fathers are
innocence.
liars. These church fathers are liars.
Oh, they're liars. So
So these church fathers are
the
liars.
gates